This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
The Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go.
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the Texas Rangers from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter and CJ Berryman.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ranger Report podcast. We are always coming to you from the Preferred Health Solutions online studio, and we are also your Texas Rangers source of Fans First Sports Network. Be sure to check out fansfirstsports.com and all the greatness that the new network brings to the table. We are also brought to you by Dallas Sports Nation, and as always, brought to you by Walton's Everything But the Meat. I'm CJ Berryman. You can find me at CJB_RR on the X-rated Twitter program thing. Ben is not going to be with us tonight as he partied too hard last night and hurt himself. So, but I guess if he was going to get injured, I'm sure he doesn't mind if it was injury from celebrating a momentous occasion. But I do have two of our closest friends also hosting with me tonight. Boys, tell them who you are.
What up, y'all? It's Kane here. I also partied too hard last night and lost about 75% of my voice, and the rest of it will be lost at the parade tomorrow. So, go team.
Kane going to the parade. Tyler?
I am Tyler Nilsson. You can find me on that porn site at TPN 1983. Let's go, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. The Rangers are the 2023 World Champions. It still hasn't set in. It's I don't know. I mean, what a moment last night was. Let's start there, because obviously all of us had a whole lot of emotion when Josh Spores hammered that curve over, struck out Marte, and sent us to the promised land with World Series championship. Kane?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty darn cool. It still hasn't set in yet. Obviously, being born and raised here, I mean, this Metroplex was just seeking this and just waiting for this moment to finally get it. While I'm here, if I haven't gotten back to your calls or texts, I really apologize. I will try to get back to you as best I can. But but it's a super cool moment for me personally. I know I used to act like I was Ian Kinsler in front of my TV every night when I was 6. And so I know baby Kane is really excited, and big Kane is pretty excited too. But I mean, what a crazy ride. Like, just reflecting back on it, I remember my first day, I had the little first day of school sign that my mom made me that when I went to work the first day this year, it was way back in April or May. And now we're here however many months later and got a ring on her fingers. Pretty darn cool.
Tyler, you and I were going back and forth, and then all of a sudden it just stopped.
Yeah, I didn't want to jinx it towards the end. I just think me, you, and Ben kind of just decided, hey, let's just enjoy the last 9 outs of this game. And I think it was more closer to 3 outs. Actually, when we got the insurance runs and felt good with the Simeon home run, that's when I felt like I was like, yep, we're going to be World Series champions. And I'm not going to lie, gentlemen, I cried like a bitch. I had tissues. I was crying and crying. 40 years, since I was in diapers, I've watched this team through the worst of times. I mean, through God knows how awful we were. And I've seen them get to the World Series and be so close to achieving that goal, and to lose it, especially against the Cardinals. But to finally get over that hump, we are sitting here on November the 2nd saying we're World Series champs, and Kane made a really good point. I went to game 2 of the World Series, and you could just tell the passion of those fans. in Arlington, the DFW area, just surrounding area. Those fans more than anything deserve this. You know, the players, of course, but the fans have waited and waited and waited for so long to finally grasp that freaking World Series trophy and to say that their team is the World Series champions.
It's pretty cool. I want to say too, I haven't really like wrapped it up on social media or anything, wrapped up the thing, but I just want to say like thank you to everybody. Every time I went to work, it's popping, it's packed. People are recognizing me and recognizing other people that I work with. And like, this, I know DFW is so legit because I'll go to Dallas Wings games or I'll go to the freaking Panther City lacrosse games and it's packed and people love it. And I know that's like DFW is a sports town and they show up and they support. We won and there's fireworks going off. I heard fireworks outside of my house. People are texting in the neighborhood app that my mom has. Like, did somebody die or something? Right. Right. They won. And so it's like, I know, y'all deserve this, man. Like, this is awesome. Just to see, and I'm so excited to go party with 500,000 of y'all tomorrow. It's going to be unreal.
We'll see the scene
go ahead,
at Texas Live, boys. Ooh, it still gives me chills just to think about it. Go ahead, Tyler.
I was going to say, I was watching, I don't know if y'all saw the video, but the Mavericks played last night. And after the game, all the fans stuck around, they stayed till after the game and they put the World Series game on that new Jumbotron they have there at the stadium. And they were going absolutely insane. It's just like Kane said, the whole area, they all support each other. You see players, from the Cowboys go to the Ranger game, from the Mavericks, and you see it vice versa. You see Ranger games attending their games. And it's cool to have a community like that support each other. And like I said, all three of my teams, my bucket list is checked off now. My Cowboys have won a Super Bowl. The Mavericks have won a championship, and now I can finally check the one off with the Texas Rangers are the World Series champions.
Yeah, Tyler, you were at game 2, like you said, and it was a party all day long.
It was absolutely insane.
Talk about that.
Of course, it's the only game I go to, they lose. But hey, they're World Series champs, and I kind of figured going to the game with Corey, we probably would lose.
Yeah, he's not allowed to go back to playoff games or important games. He can go to a June game.
Yeah,
Corey's barred right now from
he's barred. That's what I said. But yeah, like you were saying, the atmosphere for game 2, it was absolutely insane. We got to Texas Live around 1:00, and people were already flooding in. They were game didn't start till 6 hours before, and next thing you know, you start looking around. We walked out of Texas Live a few times to see the crowd growing and growing. Next thing you know, it looked like a bunch of ants around there. I was like, wow, this is really cool.
But the crazy part too is like something that speaks volumes about this Metroplex is that yes, it's like that in the World Series, but I'll show up to work in a June game and there's people waiting outside and I'm walking in the gates and I'm like, the gates don't open for 2 hours and y'all are just standing
right.
Here. We had so many sellouts, so many times I felt like a broken record tweeting limited tickets remain, X, Y, and Z. And so it's like these people have been supporting this team all year. And to finally get this, it's, like y'all deserve it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it kind of showed the new guys, and not just this year, but last year as well. The guys, obviously, Seager, Simeon, John Gray, and then this year, DeGrom, even though obviously we lost him earlier in the season, but Nate Uvalde and the newest guys. This city, this fan base will back you to the very, very, very bitter end. And if they didn't remember how much this fan base backed the Rangers in 2010 and 2011, well, they were reminded in a big, big way. And I think really, obviously this one meant so much coming off of the 2011. That one still, I couldn't relax until that last hour was recorded. I just had bad thoughts of 2011. And once that happened, like I knew I was going to yell, and then that curveball happened, and you get the strike 3, and my first reaction was he got him right as the pitch was coming in, and when the out happened and they start celebrating, I just sat there with my hands just like this, and just watched the TV and just kind of soaked it in, and I actually didn't scream. I didn't yell or nothing. I just sat there.
It's one of those feelings where it's just a numb feeling because you never, especially me and you, CJ, we're a little bit older than Kane, but we've never, 40 years going through this dang near, and to see it finally happen, yeah, it's kind of one of those moments, like you said, it's like you have no words to say. You just want to watch and enjoy every moment, like watching them all come together on the, on the pitching mound and all that stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, I was glued to it, and we had the Cowboys dominance. Obviously, Tyler and I remember that, but we were kids. That was different as an adult now. I mean, yeah, I'm 39, but I've been waiting for this to happen for 40 years. Yeah, do the math.
But for me, I've never seen a sports championship between us, so this was cool. But since I didn't have, I didn't really think back on 2010, 2011 with any fond memories because I was so young. But honestly, when they won, like I just kind of started thinking back to just, when I was little, I started thinking back to, my mom, my grandma taking me to games at the old stadium. My mom, my dad, no matter every single year we were there, no matter how much they sucked, and then I just started thinking about, when I started working, like just it feels like every game I go work, which is a lot, like my family is there and they're supporting. And so it's awesome. And just that's kind of what I drew back on is like just a cool moment. And like, man, like God is good. Like to have this platform, let alone like win or lose, like to have this platform to glorify the Lord is honestly like, was such a blessing in its own right. But the fact that they came out on top is just like, perfect storybook ending. And it's like, one thing too, I remember I tweeted this out, but I remember when I was real little, I was 6 in 2011, but I remember my dad showing me on YouTube the video of Nelson Cruz's walk-off grand slam when I was like, hey dad, I like baseball. And he's like, watch this video. And I was like, okay, I'm going to show my kids Adolis Garcia's walk-off grand slam in game 1 of the 2023 World Series. And so it's really, really cool.
And his grand slam to bust up the Astros.
Yeah. Kane, it kind of shows you how old or how young you are and how much older we are, because you're talking about the old stadium. I remember going to games with my parents
Arlington
at the old Arlington Stadium, the very first stadium. And I can remember watching Nolan Ryan, going to games and watching Nolan Ryan pitch.
Kenny
and then
Rock,
going to
Charlie Huff.
Charlie Huff, all them. You had Sandberg or Sundberg.
Jim Sundberg, and then obviously you had Julio Franco.
Julio Franco, man. You can't forget about Julio. Yep. I remember all those good times, but I also remember, fortunately for me now, I've got to go to all 3 stadiums, and they have definitely changed throughout the years. I can say that much.
Yeah, that old Arlington Stadium. We were due for the ballpark in Arlington, which is what it was called at first. And
I still miss the ballpark, though. I'm not going to lie.
I do. I know it was hot, but you know what? I sat in the shade, behind home plate or behind the first baseline or third baseline, whatever. And I've also sat in the left field stands where the sun's just beating down on you in the middle of the summer. But I was just the atmosphere there, and the ballpark itself was beautiful.
No, yeah,
I love it, and I'm glad it's still. They decided to use that as part of the whole Texas Live experience as well. But
and what's really cool about that stadium is when they built the stadium, they took one piece of everything from every stadium in MLB at the time. It kind of incorporated that for their own stadium. So like if you walk through that stadium, if you remember back in the day, you can look at things and be like, oh, that kind of looks like Camden Yards, or this one looks like, Fenway. And there's a lot of dimensions and stuff that are the same. And it's pretty cool.
Tomorrow,
a lot of history.
Actually, that's part of the parade thing is they're going to have the old stadium open for like concessions, bathroom or whatever. But I think it's going to be really cool. On a day where the Rangers just won their first World Series, I haven't been back since the last game of 2019. I haven't been back. So on the day the Rangers win their World Series, I'm going to go back to the ballpark where I went to my first ever MLB game. Like that's pretty darn special.
That's neat. That's pretty neat. Yeah. So we're going to hit a break here real quick, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what happened yesterday. And the day before, because the last time we talked, we were coming off of, it was a 1-1 split at home, and we had to go play 3 there, but the Road Warriors were the Road Warriors. That's what they had to be. They won more games on the road than at home.
11-0, man. 11-0.
Yes, sir. 11-0 on the road. Only won 2 home games.
Incredible.
So that's just wild, and it's not an indictment on the fans at all, because that place was electric. In all we have 3 games at home, I think.
Correct.
So,
we have one against Baltimore, and then 2 against.
We had 2 against Houston, and then so 5.
Oh no, we had 3. We had 3 against Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 3 against 2. Okay, so 1-4. I'm trying to do math in my head.
Yeah.
Anyways, 6 games and we only won 2. So we won the Baltimore it was the Baltimore. Anyways, we won the damn World Series and we're going to
We won the damn World Series. That's all that matters.
All right, we'll be right back with you. You're listening to the Ranger Report. And welcome back to the Ranger Report podcast. We are here celebrating the night after the Rangers became World Series champions for the first time in franchise history. So we're going to talk a little bit about the game last night, and it was just a game of polar opposites for both teams, because Nathan Eovaldi, for I think they said the 3rd time in his entire career, walked 5 batters in a game, but he still fought through 6 scoreless innings. And then on the other side, their guy is throwing a no-hitter through 6. So let's start with Kane. What was your thoughts? Like 5th, 6th inning, we're getting no hit, and Eovaldi's scratching and clawing, and it just seems like every inning you're having to clench your butt pretty hard.
I mean, that was the Zach Gallen that showed up for most of the guy that's probably going to win the Cy Young. I mean, he was as advertised. He hadn't been that playoffs. Like this playoff run, he was
had a over 5 ERA.
Yeah, to show up and shove like that, and his stuff was nasty too. I mean, it was on. Like it was, he was making guys look silly, and it was honestly, for me, those are my favorite games. The 0-0 low scoring games.
Oh yes,
those are the most fun to watch to me, and it was really fun to watch. And then you got Eovaldi, and he's been there and done that, so he knows how to win with his B stuff. He probably didn't have his A stuff, but he had his B stuff, and he knows how to win with it. And so that's just, I think it kind of sums up just what the team did the whole year, right? Like they weren't always in the greatest spot this year, but they dug out and they found a way to win always. And so for Eovaldi to give the performance that he did, especially with, I know I don't want to talk about the what ifs, but it's like, there was a decent amount of pressure on him for that being a game 5. Mm-hmm. Scherzer was done. The bullpen wasn't in a great spot, even though they had it seemed like they blew out the Diamondbacks in the 4th game, but they came back and made it close. The Rangers had
a little bit of a game, there at the end.
Rangers had to dig into the bullpen a little more than they would have liked to. So there was a decent amount of pressure on him, and he stepped up, and just like he has the whole postseason, he's the ace for a reason. So
yeah, I think that's well said. They call him Nasty Nate for a reason, and you look at throughout his whole career, like I've mentioned before, this guy is absolutely incredible when it comes to the postseason. Don't get me wrong, he is really, really good in the regular season too. But for some reason in that postseason, I mean, did y'all see last night? Did y'all see the list of players he joined in the postseason, like with his stats and stuff in the postseason career? I was like, wow. And honestly, I wasn't too worried. The way Gallen was pitching, I was like, yeah, we might get shut out. I mean, honestly, I thought he might pitch a no-hitter, to be completely honest, because he was absolutely filthy last night.
Pitch count was really low.
It was really low, exactly. And that's when I started getting worried, and I was like, I really came into the game not expecting to win this game, to be completely honest. And that sounds pretty bad with Eovaldi being on the mound. But I was like, yeah, they're going to do it in front of their home crowd. They're going to get home and they'll wrap it up in game 6.
Yeah, that was their last home game of the year, regardless of how the Indian was. So.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I mean, I think if it came down to the MVP, it was either going to be Seager or it's going to be Eovaldi. But I mean, Seager, hands down. And I called Seager getting the MVP.
Yeah, a couple games ago, yeah, and I was, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But Kane, you made a great point of that is the farther the game got, really, you kind of and you and Tyler both great points. But like the farther the game got, each inning, it seemed like the Diamondbacks were getting more and more deflated the longer it got, because they had so many scoring opportunities that they did not cash in. And it seemed like once it got to that 7th inning, Arizona had spilled its bucket. And that's when the Rangers really came alive in the playoffs, throughout the playoffs, at 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. And they're either going to make a comeback or they're going to put you away. And they did exactly that starting in the 7th inning.
That's a great point, too. And you also got to think about how the rally got started. Corey Seager was off the end of his bat going to the opposite side of the field.
Dinker.
And then all of a sudden you have back-to-back hits. And I mean, it seemed like once Corey Seager got that base hit, they were like, all right, guys, come on, let's get this shit going. And you could see the other players since that. And yeah, of course you could see Austin Hedges in the dugout going crazy and stuff, which is always fun to see. But when we left with only one run, was it the seventh inning we only had one run? I was like, man, we got one run.
We needed it. We should have gotten a couple, cashed in.
Yeah, exactly. That's when I kind of got a little nervous. I was like, because like you said, CJ, you made a really good point. They squandered a lot of guys on base. They left a lot of opportunities out there throughout the game. I was thinking, I was like, okay, they're eventually going to get some of these runs in. So we need to post some runs up. But fortunately for us, our bullpen came in. Evaldi does what he always does. Our bullpen came in and looked freaking. Believe it or not, Chapman looked pretty freaking good last night.
He did. It just, I was so glad to see him leave, and we still had to lead because that's hopefully the last time we have to watch him go out there.
He won't be back next year.
He won't be back, and you know what? He had some great contributions, from his time that he came here, but it was just always a nerve wrack every single time.
It was
in the playoff that he went out there.
Well,
yeah, Josh Boers. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll tell you one thing. If you want to win a World Series, this is the key to winning a World Series I figured out. Sign Will Smith in the offseason.
Yeah, that's right. Only player in Major League history to win 3 World Series in a row with 3 different teams. You want to talk about luck of the draw, And he wasn't even going to be a guaranteed roster.
Right.
I didn't think he'd make the roster even when it came down to cut time, but hey, he's stuck, and good for him. Good for him. He had his role too, in the playoffs. I mean, he kept a role throughout the season and throughout the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah. I think going back to the offense real quick is like, you guys made a good point. It was kind of like this all year, but it's like the Rangers offense. Yeah, they scored a lot of runs, but they weren't consistently like scoring every single. No. They're not going to punch you a lot, but when they do punch you, it's going to hurt. And that's kind of what they do is like they have big innings and they just put you away with the big innings, right? Like let's be honest, like this year they left a crap ton of people on base.
Oh yeah.
They left a ton of people on base, but it's like when they do cash through, then they're that's going to be a tough blow to come back from. And
and that happened in the top of the 8th, Kane, and I was pissed when we left the bases loaded with 1 out. We had the bases loaded with 1 out. I was so mad, and Tyler knows I did a little bit of cussing on our text message chain that we had with Ben. I was mad. I was like, right then I started those 2011 Arizona St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, I started getting just real antsy. And to be honest, once we got in the top of the 9th, when we got the first 2 runners on and Heim was coming up with runners on first and second, I was like, this is a perfect time to lay down a bunt.
That's what I was saying.
No out.
Lay down
a bunt. And then first pitch, smack,
right? Yeah. And then I was like, never mind. That works too.
Yeah, that works. And then Carroll misplays it in center. And right then, dude, I felt my entire body it was such a euphoric feeling, like we're going to freaking do it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. And then especially after Simeon crushed that home run, I was like,
how about that after the playoffs, after his performance throughout the playoffs, who deserved that more than Simeon?
Yeah, you got to love that was him. I mean, you're talking about a dude that played all 170 something games, the captain of the team, dude's out there every day, I can tell you there's probably been a handful of days where I've walked on the field at work and Marcus Simeon is not out there working out. Like this dude, it had to be him. It was, and I feel like I've been saying that a lot, but it's like the clubhouse is just filled with good guys that deserve to win. Like, I mean, that's how it is. Like, you go in there, it's like, I don't know. There's like certain people that you go around and like you feel good, after you're done being around them. Like, I feel like that's every interaction that I have. Just feel good. Like when you talk to the Texas Rangers, and it's like, couldn't have happened to a better group.
Right. And 2 really cool things I saw today. Corey Seager was the first one coming off the airplane holding the World Series trophy when they arrived in DFW. And the second thing was Corey Seager won the Man of the Year award for MLB today.
Yeah.
So I think that's well said about the character of Simeon. It just says a whole bunch about him. You're exactly right.
Yeah. One thing that's just about the team, and I think Simeon and both Simeon and Seager, if you look at all their interviews in the playoffs, and even after they won game 4, And, it was a blow. They had 5 runs in the second and third inning, and they were up 10-0. Arizona ended up coming back a little bit, and they interviewed Simeon, and both he and Seager, same thing last night. They asked them questions about their own performance, and they shed their light on somebody else.
Exactly. They've been like that all year.
They ignore the question completely. And like they talk about how it's the guys that set up whatever the success was that they had, and the guys that followed and took care of their job after whatever they had done was done. It's so impressive to watch them interview, and they had names. I mean, they knew it was just such a here. The spotlight's on me. I'm Corey Seager. You take it. You take it.
Yep,
you take
that's exactly right.
It was all team, and then man, and you got a guy like Austin Hedges being the cheerleader. I guess if you look back to Tyler, you could probably speak on this. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Elvis, but a little bit just different, obviously, in his own Austin Hedges way. But just that goofy guy that's out there having a blast and just celebrating, playing, being a man playing a kid's game.
Yeah, that's well said. And the thing about Austin Hedges, he knew he wasn't going to get no playing time or anything like that. And but you need that type of player. We've talked about this before. You need that type of player in your clubhouse to bring that energy, to have that passion. And Austin Hedges could care less if he was out there on the diamond. If he was in there in the dugout with his teammates and knowing he was making them better by just him being a fan, I mean, he looks like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a little kid anytime they get a base hit, a home run, especially a home run.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought that every single day since we acquired him from the trade deadline. And, he was overlooked for that whole thing. And, yeah, he didn't contribute on the field, and we didn't expect that from him.
Mm-mm.
But
he had to come in game 3.
Yeah, he was our best pitcher. He was our best pitcher there for a good stretch. I know that much.
That too. But game 3, he came in off the bench because the pinch ran for Jonah Heim earlier in the game, and he came in, and people just don't understand how good of a catcher he is.
Yeah,
Jonah Heim is number 1 in the league in pitch framing. Guess who's number 2 in the league in pitch framing? It is Austin Hedges.
That's correct.
Yeah, don't slide his defensive game, because he might not be able to hit better than a pitcher, but that dude can play. He's a dirtbag. That's a Ron Washington-ism. It's a washism, dirtbag. And he called Mike Napoli a dirtbag back when he could still catch, because the guy gets dirty. He gets out there, he blocks the ball, and he wrangles the pitching staff. The dirtbag, and that was awesome. And I want to talk about, and Tyler, you're going to know exactly who I'm going to talk about. The unsung hero of the World Series, I believe, would be John Gray.
Let's talk about John
Gray. Without John Gray, who knows? But
I don't think we're sitting here right now talking about this.
I don't think so either. I think we're still playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without John Gray in game 1, and then last night, or the other night, 2 nights ago, holy cow.
Right. And it goes back to exactly what we've been talking about on this whole podcast, what Kane said, what you've been saying. These guys, it doesn't matter they are willing to do whatever the team asks them to do. And that's what makes you winners in this league, in any league. Whenever asked upon, Gray went out to the bullpen. And of course he went on the IL for a little bit, but you know what? He didn't care being out there. I saw a great interview with him, and he was like, I'm just going to do whatever they asked me to do.
Yeah, him and Heaney and Martin Perez, all the same.
Yeah, I was just like, guys could have just been like, nah, screw that. Like, I'm a starter. Like, I'm not going to the bullpen. Like,
it's just like when Garcia, and Scherzer, when they were out off the roster. And then Jankowski comes in, hadn't picked up a bat in no telling how long. And he comes up and right away just gets a base hit. And it's like, yeah, I could do this.
RBI base hit, yeah. And I know I'm getting my games mixed up because it just all seems like a blur, and I'm still trying to collect myself. Seriously, today I worked, my body worked. I was here working, but my brain was
fried.
Still. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest. When we went to the 9th inning, my blood pressure was extremely high. I kind of felt like crap, and I'm like, please end this thing tonight, man. No more. End it tonight, please. Because game 6 just kept to me, it just kept screaming at me. And then that top of the ninth, really, I mean, it was so much relief. So much.
Yeah,
relief.
because if you don't win that game in Arizona last night, and I was looking back on it, and you don't win that game, now the pressure's all back on Texas.
It was 100% back on the Rangers to go home.
That's correct.
And all the headlines and they'd hear all the crap about, not very good at home and got swept at home by the Astros and, yada, yada, yada. But they were, again, 11-0 on the road. I mean, they had
incredible.
They had a tough slate that they had to go through to make this happen, and they did it.
They went to the toughest one, basically.
Yes,
I mean,
they did. They did.
100%. I think everything we've talked about tonight kind of just signifies the culture of this team, and not even just the team, like the organization. Like, I know like a lot of people are not behind the scenes. Like when I go behind the scenes, like it's the little things to me, right? Like I'll walk into work on Sunday and DJ C-Stats is playing worship music and guest services is greeting me at the door. Like everybody from this organization is taught, like, the security guards, the elevator operators, you feel like you have a personal relationship with them. It's like everybody in this organization, top to bottom, like deserves this. And it trickles down like the team, like, there's a selfless bunch. Nobody in there has ever, and I walked in at 16, and nobody in this organization has ever made me feel less than anybody else.
That's cool.
Honestly, this couldn't have happened to a better group of guys and a better just organization in general.
Real quick,
and I'll be seeing you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, CJ.
I'll be seeing you next year, Kane. I'm going to be coming to cover some games next year.
Well, by the way, speaking of next year, CJ, me, and Jamie were talking about last night. We're going to game one, first home game next year, and you are coming with us, 100%. And we're going to watch them drop the banner for the World Series.
Yep, that's a great idea. We might have to get on tickets pretty quick.
Well, whenever they first come out, it's going to be a while before they go on sale, but we're going to get them. But
we're going to have to jump on them.
One thing I did want to point out, let's give a huge shout out to CY and the job he did.
Yeah.
Yep. He pieced it all together. And you know what?
Daniels, yes.
John Daniels deserves some credit too. I know there's got a lot of people.
I don't want to talk about Josh Daniels. I'm not giving him.
I know,
credit.
and I knew that. I knew Tyler would, but he does have a fingerprint on it, at least, with a lot of the guys that the younger guys that went through the shitty, 2020, 2021, 2022s, and finally, they grew up. Dane Dunning.
And that's someone that cares too. Like you can truly tell John Daniels cares. I see, like even when he stepped away, like his letter was so genuine, and he thanked everybody. And this year he's with the Rays, of course, now. And this year when the Rays came down, like he's back, and you see him on the field. It's like that's somebody that cares, and like has a big part, like you said, like a big part on the team. Like
he had a hand in it.
Traded for Jonah Heim for Nathaniel Lowe, gave up basically nothing. Adolis Garcia, he gave up nothing for him, drafted Josh Young. Like he has a fingerprint on this team.
Absolutely. But CY, I think, it happened at the right time.
Yeah.
The guy that was just going to come in and put the final pieces together and bring the final pieces in. We cannot in this podcast tonight without tipping a cap and being number one, being so happy for Mike Maddox, because he had to live through that 2011 debacle.
And you could see the interview with him last night. He could barely talk. He was so emotional. He was struggling very bad.
Bruce Bochy coming out of retirement and setting the tone right away. He said in his first meeting with the Rangers, "Boys, I didn't come here to lose."
That's exactly right.
And
I'm not going to lie to you. Bruce Bochy is absolutely nothing like I expected. I kind of expected him to be serious, cares about baseball. Like he's been there, done that. That is like the most genuine, like, he cares about you guy that you'll ever meet, like joking, laughing, no matter what the situation is. Like, I remember walking in one day, we lost 8 games in a row. And I'm like, how's Bochy going to be? Sure enough, smile on his face, like cracking jokes is like, and that contributed so much, especially when you lose the division on the last day of the season, got to fly across the country.
Long flight with each other.
It's like, you can't do that with anyone else in the dugout. I mean, like I said, great group of guys. But I think too, going back to how the roster was constructed, it's like, I see, on Twitter, oh, the Rangers bought the team, whatever.
No, they didn't.
It's a mix, right? Like you're going to have to buy some pieces, but you're also going to have to draft some pieces. That's why I tell people, I'm like, they drafted Evan Carter. They drafted Josh Young. They traded for Heim Lowe. Yes, they spent big on Simeon and Seager, but it's a mix, right? Because you can't be all in one bag with the buying over the payroll. Then you got a Mets situation,
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
You can't be all the way in the other bag because then you're like the Rays, who, let's be honest, I feel like we talk so much about the Rays philosophy is so good, but they haven't won anything. Like I'm personally, I mean, they don't have the ability to go and do what the Rangers did, was have their young core and to go get veterans to bring it all, to bring the glue in. Right.
Yeah.
So pieces they mastered it. I mean, that's exactly how you want to build a team,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, they did exactly what you need to do. They grew their own, and they took what they wanted out of. And I said this, and I'm proud of myself for this. I put this kind of analogy on it back in 2021, I believe. Me and Ben were on here, and we were excited to watch the team of nobodies. Because I use the analogy. What they're going to do is they're going to put a whole bunch of names and put them in this pot, and they're going to boil it. And then once it gets to the hottest, they're going to pick the guys out of there who are still at the top, out of that water, and they're going to take them forward and then start piecing together. And boom, did they do it?
Yep, they sure did. And Kane, I think the last time he was on the episode and I joined, Kane made a really good point about this ball club. This team is so resilient. They've been like this all year. It doesn't matter. They've always had that mentality. It's the next man up. And it's like I said, when Garcia went down, I wasn't nervous about it. I was like, yeah, you hate to see Garcia go down. I mean, he was crushing the ball.
But honestly, I wasn't afraid when he went down. And that's not an indictment on him at all.
Yeah.
To your point, that's exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but yeah, it was next dude, somebody's going to step up. And it turned out that guy was Simeon.
Well, I was talking to my cousin about this last night. I was like, how many times in sports does your player who's playing best in the postseason go down and you're not worried? Because think about if the Lakers are in the playoffs and LeBron James goes down, they might as well pack your bags right then and there. Right? Like if the Mavs are playing and Luka's down, go to camp. Yeah. Like you're done. But it's like, baseball is such a unique sport. And this team is just like y'all said, next man up. Like I wasn't worried. I remember when Garcia went down, I'm about to cover the game from DBU. I walk into the cafeteria. That's all you see on the TVs. 8 TVs in the cafeteria. All you see, Garcia's down. Everyone's like, oh shoot. And I'm like, they got this. Like they're good. Like they're chilling. The lineup is so deep. Like, and sure enough, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the bullpen ended up being a strength. Josh Spores was filthy. Tyler, he was so filthy.
Tough. Let's start.
I ain't gonna lie. I kind of wanted to see Leclerc get the final out for the World Series, but I mean, they had worked him. I mean, let's be honest. Leclerc had been overworked quite a bit the past few days, and I was like, "You got a 5-0 lead." Spores was filthy. I was like, just finish this shit off and let's be World Series champions. And I can't deal with it much longer.
You know what I think went into it? Because I was surprised not to see Leclerc out there. But that's another thing is we're probably still playing if we don't have Leclerc there. That dude, woof, shut down. But when S'mores came back out, I was like, why? Why is he not bringing in Leclerc? And then I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, because Josh Spores just went and got a K to end the 8th inning in a tight situation, and it was just 1-0. Yeah. So he had that high emotion, and then you go out there and you put up 4 runs for him. Yeah, he's able to relax and come down off that. That's the guy you want back out there.
And I like the way Bochy did it last night coming out of the pen. I like that they brought Chapman in the 7th.
In the 7th, yes.
And instead of the 8th, I was like, okay, good. I still didn't feel comfortable. Trust me, when Chapman came out, I was like, oh, crap, here we go again. And luckily, he came out erratic like he usually does, but he found a way to get out of the inning. That's all that matters.
He settled it down, luckily.
All I'm going to say is in July and June, there was a whole lot of people in my Twitter comments that wanted Jose Leclerc and Josh Spores off the team. And now here we are. And dadgummit, they just won the World Series. And honestly, though, kind of speaking to what y'all are saying about, the bullpen, I'm at the point where I don't even question Bochy's decision.
No.
I'm like, I wouldn't have done that, but you know what? Like,
Nope.
I would have done.
Well, even with bringing in Leclerc for the blowout game, I'm like, I would have left Will Smith in there, but then I was like, you know what? The dude's won 3 World Series, and one of them was against us. I'm gonna just shut my mouth. And now he's got a 4th, 1-1 against us and 1-1 with us. This year's been fantastically weird, and it ended in the best way. It ended in the best way it possibly
It's
could.
been a roller coaster for sure. From the beginning, we started off really good, and then we hit that bump in the road after the All-Star break where we lost. What did we lose? 17 out of 21 at one point, or 16 out of 21 or something like that. And you start reading all these tweets and everything, and all these idiot fans, they're already jumping off the bandwagon. They're like, yep, they're done. They're not going to even make the playoffs and all that. And luckily, we almost did not make the playoffs. I will give them that much. We snuck in, but you know what? That just goes to show you right there. It does not matter how you get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. If you're playing your best ball when you get in the playoffs, and that's exactly what the Rangers did. And they played their best ball throughout the World Series, and that's why they are holding the crown today.
And that's been how baseball is, though. Like, even 2011, like, the Cardinals weren't supposed to be crap that year. Like, even coming into the playoffs, that's how it is, man. Like, 2021 was like they were below 500 at the trade deadline. They won the World Series. Like, that's just it's the way baseball goes.
Yep, you're exactly right. Great point.
Sure is, fellas. This has been an outstanding year. Year, crazy year, and all of our emotions came into a big conglomeration of a World Series championship that we can all celebrate together. And we've
finally happened.
Me and Ben have been doing the podcasts together again. We did it in about 2014, 2015. I was with him for a while, and then we started back up in 2021, January 2021, and we've been doing it weekly since. And then Kane comes along, and Tyler comes back. I'd been so long since I'd talked to Tyler, and it brought our friendship back. I mean, hell, the Rangers helped bring me and Tyler back together. Really,
that's what baseball and sports does, man.
And here we are, Rangers 2023 world champions, and I just don't know what else to say.
That's there, man.
I don't know what else to say.
I mean, the Lord don't make mistakes, man. Like, it's this insane. I mean, I get a platform every day, and shout out to the organization. Like, they're cool with everything. I get a platform. I get to go in and bring glory to God, and every day, and it's never questioned, and they're so open about everything, and it's awesome. It's an awesome organization to be a part of, and man, couldn't happen to a better group. And I'm excited. Let's go. Like, let's party tomorrow. Let's go.
That's it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be looking forward to watching the parade tomorrow. I know Tyler is too. Kane, don't get hurt like Ben did.
Oh yeah, no, I'll try not to. Hey, also, if y'all are going, like, don't do anything stupid. Like, come on, we're all enjoying it.
Let's just party and hug each other and just watch it and watch history. I mean,
we're gonna have a great time. Let's go. 500,000.
And no tearing up the city, please.
No tearing up the city.
Let's go.
Yeah, and hey, watch that. Man, I'd cry again whenever I saw Kane. When you see that World Series trophy moving on down the street, that's going to be some emotion right there. I know it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's gonna be awesome. I've been waiting on this day my entire life, which is not as long as most people's entire life, but I still been waiting.
Like I said, 40 years I've been waiting, 39 years.
40 years for me. Yep.
So I started my journey in this life waiting.
Waiting. Yeah. Me and you both. CJ.
Yeah.
Me and you both.
Yeah. Tyler's right there with me. All right, fellas. Well, that's it. Thank you, everybody.